This is a different kind of video than I usually make, so I apologize if it's jarring for my usual videos and viewers. For context, I'm a 19-year-old cishet white, albeit Hispanic white man living in the United States, so my view of the world is formed through my own experiences, traumas, and overall observations. This is not based on facts or data or logic, really just vibes, feelings, and anecdotes. I feel like our world is spiraling down an inevitable drain. And my generation, Gen Z, is being swallowed by this vortex. I think a major part of this stems from late-stage capitalism and materialism. Our obsession with material gain and consumerism only seems to alienate us from our fellow man. Philosopher Ludwig Feuerbach believed that man created God in man's image, not the other way around like Christianity claims, and that we use God as a medium of connection. Then philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche believed that man lost its way by losing our connection to God and ultimately to one another. In the same essence, Karl Marx believed that we use commodities and capitalism as a means of connection. We connect to each other indirectly through our material goods, like how we used to connect using God and religion as the catalyst. In this vein, we've lost our way of connecting to one another as late-stage capitalism and consumerism, funnily enough, consumes us. We're so obsessed with material goods that we lose touch with one another. We're absorbed in our technology and the internet, which is akin to the Matrix, that we lose touch with the real material world outside our technology. Believe me, I'm not a phone bad, book good kind of person, as I think our modern technology has a plethora of benefits to offer us. What I'm saying, though, is that the neglected, detrimental side effects of our technology are starting to catch up to us, and most people, especially those my age, consent that something is wrong. We all feel something is wrong with our modern system, but people of varying beliefs will blame different things. I, a leftist, blame capitalism and consumerism. The feminist will blame the patriarchy. The conservative will blame the woke left and pronouns. The libertarian will blame the government and regulations, etc. Regardless, as we use our commodities as a medium of connection, we're caught in this vicious cycle of production and consumption, and these connections we form based on our commodities become superficial in a system we actively participate in and enable. For instance, I grew up being teased and mocked for having an Android phone over an iPhone. At the end of the day, does having an iPhone really matter? No, it doesn't. The phone I have doesn't matter so long as it serves the function I need it to serve. 13-year-old me really only used my phone to text, call, and DM people on Instagram, so I didn't need an iPhone. My $100 Android served me perfectly well for the year that I had it, albeit it only had 16 gigs of storage. I could have easily upgraded the storage and gone on with my life, but I felt so bad about having an Android and being disconnected from the people around me that I pressured my parents to buy me an iPhone and then another iPhone. I grew to resent my iPhones for not really serving me well. I'm a tinkerer. I like to play with my technology and download third-party software and Linux on my phone. With an iPhone, unless I jailbreak it, I can't do what I want with it. The social features like iMessage games and blue messages didn't really matter to me at the end of the day since my phone was so dry I almost never texted anyone. I mostly DM'd them on Instagram. Furthermore, social media itself is another commodity that serves as the primary medium of connection between individuals nowadays. People don't text, they DM. They don't call either, they DM. We hardly see our friends face to face anymore, but we DM constantly in group chats and call on Discord. These things aren't necessarily bad, but when they become a replacement for in-person interaction, it can create loneliness and isolation. You can have many people in your social circle. Hell, I do, but I rarely see them face to face, so I still feel lonely. Also, social media creates false expectations for people's lives. You see the best parts of their lives, their relationships, and their progress. You only see people hanging out with friends, going on road trips, graduating, getting married, having kids, etc. on social media. You don't see people's worst moments like their mental breakdowns, their breakups, their failures, etc. because people want to create a perfect false illusion, a facade of who they truly are for social approval and acceptance. I'm going to go against the grain and say it's okay to want to be liked, loved, or accepted by people. Most of us want that in some regard, but American individualism punishes people for admitting that. We're taught to be stoic, nonchalant, and to not care about what others think. Of course, having a certain level of thick skin and self-assuredness is necessary, but to completely reject the intrinsic need for social acceptance and approval is nearly impossible for most. To be fair, you have the schizoid types who couldn't really care about being social with people, but those are the exception, not the rule. It's the same for relationships. It's okay to want to be in a romantic relationship and for that to be a priority, but again, we're taught that it's bad to want this, and that you have to act nonchalant and constantly work on yourself in order to be this perfect person ready for a relationship. The thing is, no one is perfect. We can't get caught in a loop of constantly working on yourself and trying to perfect yourself and waiting to be in a relationship. It's honestly better to just jump in the water and sink or swim rather than endlessly procrastinate on getting a relationship or giving up entirely. Speaking of relationships, getting into healthy, committed relationships is nearly impossible for people nowadays. Not only does social media create perfect expectations that are unattainable, but my generation is so closed off, so obsessed with acting nonchalant and like they don't care, so passive-aggressive, and obsessed with these games that they can't commit to a relationship. The new fad is not even to get into relationships, but to situationships, or friends with benefits relationships, which is an intimate or even sexual relationship without the commitment or label. You go out on dates, kiss, have sex, comfort each other, do all the things you do in a relationship, but you don't call it a relationship out of fear of commitment. I don't necessarily fault individuals for getting into situationships, but rather our general dating culture of the modern day that has spawned this monster. If I'm being 100% honest, I am resentful and angry for being single. I'm not an incel nor a misogynist, but I do feel a level of anger and envy for being unable to date people and for feeling undateable and undesirable. I've never been in a serious relationship with someone. The longest I ever, quote, dated someone was 3 months in middle school. I've had 1 or 2 week relationships across middle school, high school, and online during COVID, and a situationship with a girl during COVID who couldn't figure out her feelings for me, but I've never really been in a serious relationship. I don't really count those as dating experiences, so generally I consider myself a dateless virgin. I tried nearly everything recently. I tried networking with people in college. I've tried dating apps. I tried reaching out to old friends and classmates whom I found attractive. I tried meeting people through friends, and all of them failed for one reason or another. The most common reason these failed was due to an insanely rage-inducing trigger of mine: ghosting. I despise ghosting. I hate it so much, but it has become the default for Gen Z to be passive-aggressive and disappear from your life rather than spend a singular minute of confrontation that is saying your honest, true feelings. But we're so closed off, individualistic, and alienated from one another that being honest and vulnerable for even a moment is shunned. The most common response from ghosters or people who defend ghosting is that you aren't entitled to a relationship or to a conversation or to anyone's time. But I think this is a BS response. I think most of us are entitled to the basic respect that is closure and honesty rather than ghosting or taking months to respond while still posting on Instagram and viewing my stories. Yes, I have a lot of resentment for these people because it's the coward's way out. It's super avoidant and immature. If I'm being completely honest, I am a hypocrite. I criticize people for their nonchalance and ghosting, but I have done the same myself. I admit it, and I used to hate myself for it. But through years of therapy and internal reflection, I've forgiven myself because I realize that I suffer from pretty serious mental illness: schizoaffective disorder, bipolar type, PTSD, ADD, anxiety, and I'm pretty sure I have DID as well. And some of the symptoms of my mental illness, schizoaffective specifically, are social withdrawal, paranoia, and blunted affect. I literally cannot help and couldn't help at the time when I was untreated and unmedicated, withdrawing from people due to my paranoia and having a blunted, stoic, nonchalant affect and appearance. To give more context, I ghosted people for not inviting me to places because I suffered a social trauma of being humiliated in front of an entire class of people and being laughed at by those people. As a result, I completely withdrew from everyone in my senior year of high school, became closed off, distrustful, and resentful. However, I will also say that the people I was surrounded with were pretentious, standoffish, closed off, and cliquey. Welcome to Southern California, where people look at you like you killed their dog for simply talking to them. So I at least have somewhat of an excuse, granted that my actions were still not the greatest. I understand that everyone has some shit that they're going through, some of us more than others. However, I still think that most people deserve the decency of a graceful closure rather than just disappearing from their lives. I will admit, I tried to reconcile with the people I withdrew from and even apologized, but I couldn't mend those relationships. I was blocked, ignored, or even if I was successful and they accepted it, our relationship was never the same, and we could go years without talking. And even when I tried to reconnect recently with one of these people, she just stopped messaging me. She ghosted me. So I would be lying if I said I didn't wish for reconciliation and forgiveness, but I understand that I'm not owed that. However, I still miss the people I abandoned. This is my own burden that I have to bear for the rest of my life until I fully forgive myself for it. I'm also going to admit, I'm a snob. I chase people for their status. I chase a certain archetype of people, the popular, conventionally attractive, upper middle class, AP honors students who are in sports, president of the class or clubs in student government, and who go on skiing trips every winter and Hawaii trips every summer, those who go to UCLA or Berkeley or Caltech or Stanford, etc. I chase this demographic of people because I want a sort of preppy, rich, upper middle class lifestyle that I deem is normal. I don't think it's necessarily wrong per se, and I recognize I am a hypocrite for judging and criticizing capitalism while wanting to benefit from it, but I accept and acknowledge this desire that I've had my entire life. I've always wanted a sense of normalcy, and I see this ideal as being normal. On the other hand, I am chased by a second demographic of people. I'm pursued by the more quirky, nerdy outcasts who are typically neurodivergent and proudly claim to have ADHD or autism, and or who are LGBTQ+. I have nothing ill or bad to say about these people. They are great, accepting, and honest people who go against the grain. I'm just not attracted to them necessarily, especially romantically. I can talk to them and get along with them, but I won't actively pursue them. However, these people are attracted to me for my nonchalant, stoic demeanor, and they seek that sense of stability and normalcy that I seek from the other people, which makes me a little uncomfortable. I resist this outburst of love and affection from them because they don't fit my ideal. I feel bad about it, but it is the way it is, and I'm trying to work on being more accepting of the love I can get and not thinking of it as, quote, settling. But I can't really help thinking of it as settling for something less than I think I deserve. This ended up being a rant about my own personal traumas and desires, but I still think it's relevant and reflects many things about my issues with the modern world and modern Gen Z culture. Thank you for watching, and see you later.